I heard something about a CoreXY 3D printer from a brand where I covered quite a lot of news about. BIQU is coming with a CoreXY 3D printer. Getting the latest news and updates right here on Zachary's 3D Prints. Hello, I'm Zachary and this channel is about 3D printing with tips, tricks, tutorials, how to review news, anything 3D printing or 3D printer related you can find right here on this channel. If you're new here and not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing and hit the notification button to get the latest news and updates right in your YouTube alerts. And thanks for being here. So for a CoreXY 3D printer from BIQU, what can we expect? Well, for the color scheme, I don't mind the pink or violet black color scheme. I don't mind it, it looks amazing, and I think it's also refreshing. Because if you look to the 3D printing market, you always see the black color or the shiny clear aluminum extrusion color. So for that, I don't mind to see something like that. I think that they can use the carbon fiber water dripped extrusions like they used on the BX. Further, what else can we see on the outside, or what else can we expect from the outside? Well, most of the printers from BIQU look like the Creality 3D printers. I don't mind, and it's also the thing that I see in many of the 3D printers nowadays. It's open source, and if it looks a little bit like the same, it shouldn't be any problem. Just like the Ender 6 from Creality. This 3D printer, this CoreXY 3D printer, has acrylic glass panels around it, making sure that also something like ABS and other heat sensitive filaments can be printed on this CoreXY 3D printer. For BIQU CoreXY 3D printer, I think they are going to do something similar in the size of the CoreXY 3D printer. And that is something what you see in most of the CoreXY 3D printers. Those machines can be very massive. Well, that brings me to the topic, what is the building volume? What is the printing volume of this CoreXY 3D printer? Well, if we look to all other 3D printers or to the printers from BIQU, I think they are going to sit around the 250 by 250 by 400 millimeters. For the one from the Creality, it has a printing volume of 250 by 250 by 400 millimeters. So I think it should be obvious or similar what BIQU is going to do. The power supply unit and the main board are going to be in the bottom of the CoreXY 3D printer. And I think if I look to the style of the BIQU and also the B1, they both have enclosed covers for the bottom. You will get a cubical shape made out of aluminum extrusions, and on the bottom you are going to have sheet metal, and in there the power supply unit and the main board. If you are going to have a printing volume in the X and Y axis for 250 or 300 millimeters, I think it's very likely that you are going to need two stepper motors to move the heat bed up and down. For the X and Y axis stepper motors, of course, because of a CoreXY 3D printer, they are going to be on top of it. Well, you can get them on the back side or you can get them on the front side. I see that this is going to be like the B1 and the BX, like the stepper motor is on the back side. I think BIQU is also going to put the stepper motors for the X and Y axis on the back side of the 3D printer to get a nice and robust shape. Well, for the belts, I can guess what they are going to do, but it's a CoreXY 3D printer, and the gantry and the carriage are moved very long timing belts. And then the electronics. For the electronics, they are going to use a normal power supply unit. I don't know how heavy it's going to be, but a CoreXY 3D printer, it can be anything. It can be a normal power supply unit, but it can also be a little bit more heavier power supply unit. So for the mainboard, BIQU is most likely going to use the BIQU SKR version 1.4 Turbo or the BIQU GTR version 1.0 or something like the SKR Mini E3 version 2. Depending on what BIQU is going to do, we will see in the near future which kind of motherboard or controller board they are going to use eventually. For the screen, the TFT70 that they have used on the BX was because of the Raspberry Pi integration. Of course, they can still use this screen, but I guess it will be the TFT50 screen that they are going to use. Of course, this is all touchscreen and you can run them in the Marlin mode or in the touch screen mode. For the extruder, we have two options. We can have the extruder on the carriage on the gantry, but for the CoreXY 3D printer, speed and lightweight are the most important things on a CoreXY 3D printer. So I believe it's going to be a Bowden style tube 3D printer, and we saw that in the B1. The B1 was a Bowden style 3D printer. For a CoreXY 3D printer, lightweight is very important to get the gantry and the carriage running over from one point to the other point in the X and Y direction. So a Bowden style 3D printer is going to be most likely the idea for BIQU CoreXY 3D printer. However, it's also possible because of the lightweight extruder, the direct drive extruder that BIQU is using on their BX. It's only 219 grams, and this can also be used on the CoreXY 3D printer. In the near future, we will see what BIQU is going to do on their CoreXY 3D printer. Also, for the other things, the stepper motors and other things, I think they are going to use the things that they use on the BX or on the B1. And then the extras. Auto bed leveling, most likely, I don't know. It can be installed on it, or it can be installed on it, because it's a brand new 3D printer that BIQU is going to release. As you can see on the B1, they didn't have any auto bed leveling system on there. You can add a BL touch to it as you would like. For the BX, however, there they have a proximity switch, ensuring to have a auto bed leveling system on there. For the CoreXY 3D printer, I'm not sure if they are going to add a BL touch or something similar as an auto bed leveling system. They can maybe also use something like the Creality CR6 SE is using as an auto bed leveling system. But we will see in the near future. The power resume function, most likely on the BIQU CoreXY 3D printer. And also the silent stepper drivers, they are standard on the new boards from Z3DP. And the filament runout sensor, I think that would be a very handy feature to have. This video is supported by these Patreon supporters, Tony and Shannon. Thank you for your support. You can also join by supporting this channel. Check the link in the description of this video. So to wrap up this video, a CoreXY 3D printer from BIQU would be amazing. It's very refreshing and it's also very logical. But what to expect and what we are going to see, it's very unclear. The only answer we can find is by BIQU. I heard it in Makers Muse in a live stream, or I saw it in the live stream, and I took notice of it, and that's the only thing I did, and then speculate how the CoreXY 3D printer from BIQU is going to look like. Well, in a near future or in a future video, we will see how the CoreXY 3D printer is going to be, right here on Zachary's 3D Prints News and Updates. If you're still watching this video, thank you, you are amazing. On the end card, there are some recommended videos worth watching. You can also buy merch for supporting this channel as well. Please like this video, share this video with other people, and hey, let's make some fun with 3D printing. Zachary 3D Prints. Bye bye.